Dear Ambassador Omer, well, very welcome to our interview of the Center of Strategic Analysis of the Portuguese East Indies Company. Here we have our security specialist, Mr. Marques. My name is Vittorio Cardoso. And Mr. Ambassador has served numerous positions within Afghanistan's government inside and outside the country. His Excellency Omer served as ambassador and permanent representative of the Islamic State of Afghanistan to the United Nations in Geneva, as well as Director General of the European Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kabul, Afghanistan, was posted as well in the Afghanistan embassy in Paris 2 times. And then his last posting actually was in Paris, but as non-resident ambassador to Portugal, where we have this picture here presenting the credentials letter to the President Cavaco Silva. And let me introduce as well a small specification, is that your name is still hanging on the board of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Portugal.
Okay. Because I'm honored.
nobody from Kabul or from the embassy in Paris updated the Portuguese Foreign Affairs Ministry that the posting have been shifted. So actually, maybe on the papers currently, we can play a little bit, stating that you are sort of the current ambassador of Afghanistan to Portugal.
Thank you very much.
At least on the paper.
Yeah, at least on paper, exactly. I'm a retired ambassador of Afghanistan, and I'm looking in Geneva. Why in Geneva? Because before entering back to the services of my country, I was official of the United Nations. And I worked for many years in United Nations. So I was in charge of some sections in United Nations. And then, okay, I was appealed for all, Afghans who are working abroad to join the government, and I joined with great pleasure. Yes.
Very well. Well, Mr. Ambassador, thank you for coming to this interview. So I would like to ask, the first question is, what is the current situation on the ground in Afghanistan?
Yeah, on the ground, I should really, yes. Okay, just I would like to tell you that, I should say that, okay, that now the Taliban have won the power, but not yet the confidence of all Afghan people. So the new reality is that the lives of millions of Afghans will depend on how Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan or Taliban or a transition authority will choose to govern. That's very important. We hope and urge for inclusivity. Broad-based government is needed, in which all Afghans can see themselves for a permanent and lasting peace in the country after 40 years, I should say, the conflict. So the transition authority, which is in power in Kabul, should seek to understand the legitimate grievance of these many Afghans who fear for their future, and international community, including UN institutions, are extremely disturbed at the sometimes increasing violence used against some Afghans who are protesting. Actually, that happens yesterday and this morning. So we would like that very much this kind of threatening the protester should stop. Yes.
And then on the humanitarian crisis situation, for instance, in the Panjshir Valley, is really going the sort of slaughter or genocide of Tajiks or Panjshiris?
No, really, okay. That is really information is lacking.
The situation,
information is lacking. But the transition authorities, they're saying that nothing happens, and then there was a few independent journalists. They went to Kashmir, to Panjshir, and they made some program, a very interesting program, and that show that things are going towards normalcy. I mean, quote and unquote, we will see that. But of course, the transition authority, they confirmed that, they repeated that communication has been reestablished, and then food and drugs are really flowing towards Panjshir. That's where we are. But of course, we don't have, apart these two journalists who went to Panjshir, when they show the picture, things are not completely normal because many shops are closed, but still some people, they're moving, and that shows us it may go towards normalcy. But at the same time, this journalist, they showed that unfortunately many people are leaving Panjshir. That many cars are really coming towards Kabul, and that he asked the people, why you're leaving. They said, we are, of course, there are people, there are family, there are children. They're afraid that okay, now is peace, there is no fighting, but in case something happened, so we would like to be out, which is understandable. Yes.
So, Ambassador, the situation. Do you think that the problem here is a problem of religion situation, or is a struggle of power between groups, or is something more ethnical?
No, I hope. I hope not. No, I don't see some. Of course, some newspapers, some people are saying ethnical. Some people are saying not religious, but I feel that there's more a question of really that when the Emirate came in power, this provisional authorities, they promised a lot that become a broad-based government, and that's they started negotiating with the authorities or people in Panjshir, but unfortunately that failed, and that is the more a question of conception, how we want to see Afghanistan. So as a more a conceptual, really the divergence than really ethnical. I hope not.
Because currently the Taliban, they are not really very interested in creating any broad-based government.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That's a very, very important question. That's very, very important.
No people from other ethnicities.
This is the few things.
For not saying women, But...
No. Okay. One thing I have to should say that transition authority actually now preventing girls from attending school behind the primary level, and threatening female police officer. It's highly hoped this trend be corrected, as transition authorities themselves promise to do so. So they promise that is transition authority. There will come a new government. New government will decide even the name of the state, even the flag of the state. So they are said. And then another sign, what I just heard last Monday, I think is an encouraging sign, that the Minister of Justice, Minister Caretaker of Minister of Justice, he announced that Constitution of 1964 will become in force. This is a constitution which was we have a very good memory of this constitution, one of democratic constitution, which was really all Afghans witnessed that period of last decade of kingdom in Afghanistan. Peace and peaceful country. It was really we're progressing towards our goal. It was excellent. So that's a good thing, I should say, because this constitution, which is really a democratic constitution, has really lot of elements that I can tell you that, for example, when we are talking about this advancement of 2 decades during this last 2 decades that before withdrawal of US troops. So that we have to say that this 2 decades, we had significant gains in socio-economic sector in Afghanistan. This greatly helped Afghans towards bringing literacy and education to adults in all ages of women and girls, creating unifying infrastructure, and most importantly, brought free press and individual freedom. It is important to underline that this, now I would like to come to your thing also, that help us to restore of some of our democratic institutions already foreseen in this constitution that I was just referred to you. What was that? Because we have, during this last decade of the kingdom, we have really witnessed the separation of power, executive, legislative, judiciary, along with the right and duty of people. That was very important for us. So if this constitution will come in force now, or probably until the new constitution will be drafted, so there is this guarantee for the right and duty of people. That's an important point.
So this means that the Taliban are analyzing and studying that constitution.
Absolutely, we hope that they're saying, and I'm following the Afghan TVs and all that. They're so enthusiastic. Many people are so really they said hopeful that this constitution become in force. At least we have some, something to refer to that, and then particularly I say this guarantee of rights and duty of people. That's very important. So that is important, and I hope that it should be done. Of course, we are waiting apart that for the inclusive government. Yes.
So how can they match up these kinds of constitutions with the idea of the Sharia law?
So yes, the Sharia law. Actually, I'm a lawyer, and you see,
okay. I'm saying Sharia law under their own interpretation.
Yes, it's a lot of reading, but Sharia law is a great idea. So we have to be inspired by it, and then to draft the laws in regulation. Actually, the Constitution of 1964 is not against Sharia. the present Constitution, I mean the Constitution of the Republic, which is really copied, I should say, about 70% of that Constitution of 64. They're not against Sharia. So that is not. Here, I would like to tell you something that I was. Thank you very much. Very good question. I would like to say there is some confusion. We are talking about all this laws and religion and all that. How Muslim should live their lives to please God and obtain salvation on one hand, and what rule the state should be allowed to enforce on the other hand. There is some confusion about that. Of course, these two spheres, there is some overlaps. This overlaps then is a question of the state legislator. To be guided by interests of the community, or determined through deliberative, collective mechanism of decision-making process, like parliament, like council, and all that. So they should, find out where is the limit of that, the overlapping. So all Muslim countries you see, Turkey, Tunisia is very advanced in this area, very much. I know Tunisia. As you heard, that Tunisia yesterday, a lady is nominated as prime minister in Tunisia. That's fantastic. So Pakistan and many other countries, Indonesia, Malaysia. So all countries are doing that, and Afghanistan should do too. So that's actually this something that we have to sort it out. I hope they will sort it out. There are many knowledgeable people that what they call ulama. They will sort that out. Yes, thank you. The sound.
I'm going to pass the floor to Mr. Marques so that he can ask some questions as well. Please, Mr. Marques.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you. I would like to know, if possible, regarding the intelligence services. Are they still working? Are they able to still working? And in what terms?
Absolutely. That's a very, very, very important question, because I was an official of the United Nations and Afghanistan. Professional people should be, work as a profession, should be recognized as professionals. And unfortunately, I heard that there was some, revenges, I should say, some misconduct against those people. Actually, at this point, the caretaker of Ministry of Defense announced that please stop this kind of threatening of those people. They are working as professional. That's not a question of that. Don't take a revenge. No. And we heard, okay, not confirmed, but we heard that unfortunately some of them have been really, really dismissed. Exactly. Yes. That is, I agree with you. It's not working. How they will? I hope that as soon as possible, this coalition government, we can say, or the broad-based government will come. All this question will be solved. Yes.
Okay, good. Because this is a need for a country, internal.
You're right. Intelligence. Our neighboring country, Iran, also they had some type of revolution, but they solved this question. But here, one thing we have to say that I would like to insist that with that Taliban or Islamic Emirate came to power, we have to understand that it's not the enemy of those people who were with the republic. They are not enemies. They are same country, and you are talking about. They were talking for almost years to form, to find a solution to work together. So absolutely, was that's that was as you. I will take this as you rightly said, that really, we lost in this question of Doha agreement, and then particularly this mess up, I should say, that's abrupt withdrawal. We missed a great opportunity for reconciliation among Afghans and restoration of durable peace in Afghanistan. This was due principally, I should say, to the mishandling of process of inter-Afghan dialogue, among others. But I should say here, I should add that inclusive peace had to be done in 2001 at Bonn Conference, at the first place. And Taliban had not been invited to take part in that event. But afterwards, I should say that government of Afghanistan, during all different of a president, there were a lot of efforts has been deployed to reignite the dialogue with the movement of Taliban. Even we had a special council, a higher council to negotiate with them and all that. So that was ongoing, yes. And then we were happy that at least and the Doha gave us this opportunity, but we missed that to reconcile that. So we hope that the dialogue which took place during the Doha, which was quite fruitful among Taliban and representative of Taliban and the representative of Republic. They had agreed on many items how to get together, and I hope that will be somehow another way, another manner to be resumed. Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, just to ask another question related to this issue. In case of no coalition at all, remaining the same as what we are having now, only with the Taliban's Haqqani network and some other groups among them. So do you think that will the Haqqani network take over the security and intelligence services of the Emirates? Will this mean that in the future, for instance, if is barely been recognized by the countries, so will be the Haqqani network be running the diplomats and the intelligence services abroad? What could it be a scenery or not?
I hope not. No, I hope not. What I heard now, I'm following very closely. I hope it will not be the scenario. Until now, we know that inside Afghanistan and also outside, a lot of our friends, Qatar is a big friend of Afghanistan, and then even our neighbors, they are for an inclusive government. Yes, that's very important. It's not it's not only for outside, but also for inside. They have to. Today we are not living in 50 years ago. We need young people. We need all talents to be used. There is a society we are going to. It is a society of knowledge. We have to work with everybody. We cannot just work with few ideas and very harsh rules. That's for sure. But I hope we are looking forward, and there are signs within Afghanistan. For example, this constitution, I said that's a good sign. We heard that if the constitution become even provisionally enforced, that shows that there is some movement among Taliban themselves. And I'm sure there is a lot of pressure from our neighbors, and especially thanks from international community. A lot of pressure to really become as we are foreseen and Doha negotiation to become an inclusive government, a government for all Afghans, where all Afghans can see their picture in this government.
Because in the case of Haqqani network be running afterwards, the diplomatic and the security services, it would be sort of a threat for Western countries, for example, for instance, to Paris or to Berlin. Who will the Haqqani network by running the diplomacy and the security services? Who will be be in contact in those countries for instance, to any fundamentalist or terrorist cells around? This is a security threat.
No. I hope will not go that. But one thing, because themselves they promised, including Haqqani network, as you're referring to, as Taliban, as a movement before, they have promised that. They have promised that they are going towards a really inclusive government, and they're sure. They are. I mean, they should understand that. I'm sure that they understand that now in the newspaper and the television, they are participating. Very good. They have very good people that are participating. They are saying that we like to work together. We work together with everybody and all that. And also,
but the situation now, we can consider that in Afghanistan they are still trying to promote a government, so they don't have a government yet.
Exactly, you're right. It's just transition authorities, yes. as we call it. I mean, or now I was reading a newspaper from our neighbor Pakistan. They themselves, they are calling transition authorities. Yes.
So by calling transitional authorities, that will mean that, because in our day-by-day life, maybe the people think that Afghanistan have a government already, but no, it is something like transitional transition government.
It is a government. I mean, they were saying that they nominated a caretaker government.
But they didn't stabilize the government yet.
No, not yet. But they say that that because of the vacuum problem and security issues, they said, okay, we nominate a caretaker government, and then waiting for I hope, inclusive government. Yes, I think that is the promise. Yes,
Mr. Marques.
Yes, thank you. The questions were related to the embassies and everything. It's very good, because what work can an embassy do under the Taliban mandated in the foreign territories? For example, what can we expect?
No, okay. For time being, everything is standstill. There is no, everybody is waiting for a new, inclusive government. For sure, I agree with you. Really, we hope that will become normal. I should say, during this, not only 20 years, even before, Afghanistan, diplomacy of Afghanistan was quite active. We had a good diplomat, a good diplomatic services, and that is a pity to get rid of them, want to not use them, especially in this world that Afghanistan needs a lot of help, lot of cooperation, and without world we cannot live, for sure. We have to look at this diplomatic relation, security and economic, because
Yes.
this world became very complicated. And myself, I was ambassador. For me, I came to the conclusion that when we talk about diplomacy, security and economic relation are included today. Yes.
Exactly, and that can lead after to all the relations for the other countries to be
absolutely
to be possible to help people and refugees and everything.
Absolutely, you're right. As I will take to here, as Mr. Cardozo mentioned, that there's some really, we have an economic catastrophe in Afghanistan now. That really, my country faces a looming humanitarian catastrophe, first of all, more than ever. People of Afghanistan need the support and solidarity of international community. The impact of this recent event, I should say, that will be severe on economic downturn that could throw more than 90% of Afghans into absolute poverty and hunger. So there is an additional looming crisis to which I must draw your attention. Assets and donors' fund have been frozen by members of international community. This understandable purpose is to avoid misuse of this fund. But unbearable effects will soon be severe economic downturn that could throw many more million Afghans into poverty and hunger. Furthermore, may generate, as you rightly mentioned, massive wave of refugees from Afghanistan, and indeed as set Afghanistan back for generation. So, and as well as the currency, Afghan currency, Afghani, plummeted, prices of fuel and food have skyrocketed. Private bank no longer have cash to distribute, meaning even Afghan with with assets cannot access them. Salaries cannot be paid. In addition, as heavily import dependent, Afghanistan will be unable to finance itself, its import of food and medicine, as well as fuel, because we are importing fuel, electricity, we are importing big part of electricity, and other essential items. So economy was already extremely fragile. I should say that Afghanistan economy was heavily dependent on aid, foreign aid. You know, according to the international institution, a nation is considered aid dependent when only 10% of its GDP comes from foreign aid. For the case of Afghanistan, you know, it was 40%. So 4 times that. So means Afghanistan was really dependent on international aid. On top of the foreign aid, another issue that I would like to mention is that another 4 to 5% of Afghan GDP was made up of remittances, that families, members living abroad of the country, sending money back home. So this means that Afghanistan is one of the countries most dependent on remittances in the world. So that was, you can see in Kabul, for example, in some pictures and television, that people have resorted to selling their household belonging on the street, showing that people lack cash. So these are really. On top of all that, also I should add that Afghanistan is really in the middle of devastating drought, which, according to UN estimates, has left around half of country's children malnourished. So these are really the main problem. Now we have to address that. So here, if you allow me, I would like to add that thanks to Secretary General of United Nations, Mr. Guterres, the high-level conference in Geneva on September 13 was convened, was very successful. The international community showed their solidarity with the people of Afghanistan. 1.2 billion pledged to meet the requirement of humanitarian aid on which Afghan lives now depend. At the same time, U.S. Treasury Department issued 2 general licenses, one allowing the U.S. government, NGOs, certain international organizations, including the United Nations, to engage in transaction with transition authorities that are necessary to provide humanitarian assistance. The second license authorizes certain transactions related to the export and re-export of foods, medicine, and other. So I should say that in addition to this good news, I just heard yesterday that I had it there before, that EU announced that they are earmarked 300 million euros for the humanitarian help. At the same time, the Italian Prime Minister has announced that G20, and beginning of October, we're meeting in Italy, they will have a specific focus on Afghanistan problem, particularly the humanitarian. So these are really a good news, I should say, that Afghanistan needs. But at the same time, I would like to add something also. Because talking of revenue, you should mention that, for example, nowadays, inherit custom revenue, because previous government were saying that we are losing each day $8 million in customs, especially western part of Afghanistan. We're losing because of corruption and all that. And thanks God, according to we just saw that Herat custom revenue have increased to more than 30%. That's thanks to removal of trade barriers, that is corrupt practices. So that's a good sign. I hope we will continue this kind of thing. This kind.
Mr. Ambassador, so your colleague in Tajikistan, in Dushanbe, the ambassador and Lieutenant General Mohammed Zahir Akbar, some
Yes.
weeks ago, have sent a verbal note to the Portuguese Minister of Foreign Affairs to pledge for humanitarian support and on the visa issuing issues for the Afghan population that is fleeing from Afghanistan and seeking for a safe harbor, like in Portugal. So do you think that the situation is really an emergency? Do you think that people that fled to the neighboring countries are, some of them, due to their profile, could be under threat, and then they must be
Okay, I know that of course, 1951 Convention on Refugees and all this very clear that it's very difficult to categorize people why they are fleeing. That is a sentiment within people. Someone cannot feel safe, his life is threatened, or he feels that he's been threatened. So that is, we should not really put in question his feeling. That's most important, how he feels that thing. And then that's true that this change took place so abruptly, and unwisely, I should say, that people were surprised, because all people were waiting some smooth transition. They were waiting all the time. We were talking that a delegation were going to Doha, negotiation was smoothly advancing, and that was that. And then don't forget that 2 years back we had a ceasefire. It was ceasefire with the Taliban movement, and people were embracing themselves. They said, okay, that's good. There's a peace. We have to go toward peace. So that means that people are waiting for that one day should come, they kiss each other, they hug each other to really bring peace to us. So that was, if some people, for sure, if they feel that their life is that is the legitimate, for going to another country. Thanks God that Portugal has accepted, and I'm very, very happy. I heard that you told me that football team, feminine football team, is fantastic. I'm so happy. I'm sure they are so happy to be in Portugal because, okay, it's true that they feel that their life was threatened in that time, for sure. But why not? Yes, that is when it comes in emergency. I hope that some people that take refuge, but of course, refuge is not something permanent. That first of all, I should say here, I was working with many foreign governments. That it's true that when we're talking about refugees, it's a difficult item. It's a dramatic cases, but at the same time, we should say there are also people. There is contact among people. There is a contact among people. We have we used to have refugees in Iran and Pakistan. Okay, they're coming back. I know there is a lot of exchange of culture. There was cultural exchange with there among them, and then same thing, refugees in Europe. And I heard that there is no Afghan restaurants in Lisbon and Portugal, and I sure we will have some Afghan restaurants there. So these are really exchange. I think we should take also a good side, and we are very, as Afghan myself, as an Afghan citizen, I'm very thankful to Portugal. This generosity to have accepted those team of football was fantastic, and I know that Miss Mayor, ex-mayor of Madam Cher, she was in Portugal yesterday. She was in Geneva. Now she's there. She was a very, very courageous person. So that's okay. She fared because she had received some news that she has to go out. So these are things that happening, unfortunately. But thanks God, there is this convention of 1951, and there is a generosity of countries like Portugal, like Havana, to receive those people. That's fantastic.
Because, Mr. Ambassador, there are still some Afghans that are stranded in Pakistan or other neighboring countries that they, for example, were military commanders against the Taliban.
Yeah, that's a difficult,
tricky, very sensitive,
very tricky thing. Although I should say that Taliban insisted several times. They have, announced a general, pardon, I should say. That is, they say that they announced. They said they're not going to revenge. They're not going to officer. But okay, they announced several times.
But the situation is that the bodies are hanging on the post lamps, and
I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Brother was killed.
Yes, maybe there are some cases that really I cannot pronounce now on that, but I'm sure there is some cases. Yes, true. But when this kind of abrupt change comes, I mean, we should expect many. Unfortunately, some crisis situation, some emergency situations.
So these kind of people that are sort of in threat or in danger could be should be fastly extracted or being supported or on refuge.
I think if they, of course, there is some ways, and I'm sure that UNHCR is very well aware of it. They're working hard on these issues. Yes.
Mr. Marques, please.
Oh, it's okay. Just maybe one more question regarding again the embassies and the refugees that can be taken if the embassies are under the Taliban mandated before everything is it's accepted by the international community. How can we have, for example, in Portugal, refugees on one side and a Taliban embassy on the other side?
No, you're right. Generally speaking, according to relationship between countries, there's one we call it consular relationship. Consular, for example, as you rightly say, this question of papers, identification of people, that should work. And I took information. All Afghan embassies, their consular, departments are working, because that is not belonging to the political, authorities. That is a government as a normal according Vienna Convention that is working. But that's one thing. Now we come at a political, diplomatic level. That means the ambassador should really present to talk with the government. That is another level of another issue. Until now, has not been solved. Although what
but Ambassador, there are some few situations. There are normal situations of security services. For example, if it's from Haqqani network under the cover of diplomatic. What will be the relation between the community and authorities?
No, I said that is not yet happened really, and that is we are not going to that. And until now, what we heard that what they have announced that all the staffs of Ministry of Foreign Affairs and staff of embassies, consulate, they should continue their normal work. Yes, normal work. And then, of course, the future, as you right said, if there is a danger, of course, we can see that for sure. And that time, but with that was, I'm very hoping, as Afghan also, that the inclusive government come, all this question will be solved. I hope. So,
Mr. Ambassador,
thank you.
I would like to ask During your posting to Paris and as non-resident to Portugal,
Yes.
what were your major missions and tasks
Exactly.
regarding to Portugal, to your experience?
Absolutely.
And what could be the counseling for your future colleague that could be posted to Portugal?
Yeah, I like that very much. As I said before, that today's diplomacy is not just protocolar, just to contact between two governments, but you have to go further. That means economic relation, commercial relation, and security relation. That's very important. And when I visited, I was in touch with Ambassador of Portugal in Paris. And then when I came, it was great honor to contact the people in Portugal. We had a lot of discussion, and of course, apart this question of the protocolar relationship, we were very much talking about economic relation, because Portugal can offer a lot to Afghanistan. Portugal has a fantastic experience in some other countries, in foreign countries, in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America. So we are very much looking for those experience. And I'm sure that, and at that time we confirmed that Portugal can bring us a lot of wealth of information, wealth of experience. And then also we like that to have created certain joint venture between enterprises of Portuguese enterprises, Afghan enterprises, and we need a lot of cooperation. And I'm sure at that time we were saying there was a lot of room for that.
Mr. Ambassador, for instance, you know that Portugal is one of the strategic partners of China.
Absolutely.
So with the Chinese increasing role in Afghanistan,
absolutely.
Do you think that there is some room of framework of cooperation between China, Portugal, and Afghanistan?
You mentioned it, that that is Portugal has such experience. I said in Asia, particularly in East Timor and Macau and then in Africa, Goa, and all that. So these are really wealth of experience that has. So that's a very good, and we can share that with Afghanistan. And I'm sure we hope one day. Actually, in that time, I should say, not that I like very much Lisbon, but I wanted very much to have an embassy in Lisbon, and Portugal will accept to have an embassy in Kabul. That was my goal. But then, okay, fortunately, they didn't give us a lot of time. But that's, I think we can do lot of exchanges, lot of things. And then also on the area of military cooperation, I think that our I'm sure that we can our soldiers, our type of military training. I think Portugal can help us a lot in this area, because there's more acquainted to because I have a lot of experience in other countries, particularly in Asia. That in that time I remember that I was looking for, and I hope that we can take it back. I wrote a lot of reports on this issues on Afghanistan, and the very high level they were saying, okay, that's good things, and we have to do that. Absolutely, we follow. There's a lot of room for it, lot of room for cooperation.
But even for this situation to be accomplished, we need to have a government in Afghanistan that is not anti-NATO or to make NATO as
no. I hope not. No.
Because Portugal is founding member of NATO as well.
Absolutely. No, I feel that really. That whatever government comes in place in Kabul, I doubt, very much doubt, unless really a group of terrorists will come to power completely. I hope not. But no, I think whatever the inclusive government will come, including this element of lot of Taliban. They are willing. They understand that they have to really work. Actually, I would like to quote something that deputy negotiator of Taliban, who's himself he was a high-graded military in Afghan forces that time, Mr. Abbas Stanakzai, when he was in Doha, he once said that I'm proud of Afghan army. They have so much, we have specialists, we have experts, they're formed there. Himself, he was saying that. So we hope that actually now what I heard from themselves, they would like to recuperate that, that is it's true. And as Mr. Marcus will know, that we cannot just form a pilot in 1 week, 2 weeks. We cannot form a colonel or a general just for 2-3 months. These are their investment, their efforts. So these are all assets for our country. We have to use them. And,
Mr. Ambassador,
and then also sorry. One thing that they should understand that this army is not a personal army of a person. That is Afghan assets. This belongs to a nation of Afghan. Yes.
In exactly this point, Mr. Ambassador, we watched some footages of the military drills or parades of the Badri 313. They are exactly the Praetorian Guard of the new regime that are not really in consensus on the national army sense. And then on the parade of the martyrdom regiment.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. There are some parade actually in northern country, in Badakhshan, I think they made a parade, some few cars. Okay, these are things, but that is more a show off, I think, the thing. But when we come to nitty-gritty,
human man bombs, with
absolutely.
The vest, bomb vest.
That. But okay, they show that they have done their work in the past. But I'm sure that they will. They're thinking that that's not, army cannot be like this, and we have to integrate army. One thing, during when Mujahideen came in Kabul, they have liberated through the Soviet occupation at that time, was a great, they were greatly really welcomed by all people in Afghanistan. And one of the big question of that the army is army of nation, army all Afghans. Okay, and now they should be, as Mr. Marcus was saying, that the intelligence services is not, belong to a person, a regime, belongs to the nation, as one of the expert element of the nation. So that is, and in that time, there was some, skirmishes. No, we don't want with a new army, but finally they accepted. No, the army is part of our nation. Yes.
So, Mr. Ambassador, currently on the so-called Taliban government,
yes,
which are the factions that are in friction now, or which are the factions that are battling to power? Can you name them and explain a little bit?
I think it's definitely okay. Just one thing is, according to news, okay, we feel that there is some those negotiators was in Doha. I would like to quote here. I think that says something of Ambassador of Qatar. Ambassador Qatar, who was His Excellency, he said that look, I feel that I'm quoting him. He said that I feel that Taliban has changed, and they are ready for inclusive government, broad-based government, and all that. But then he added that when I was talking with those people in Doha, we are understanding. So now the question is there: is there any difference between those people was negotiating in Doha and those remaining I mean, back in the country? That's a question that everybody is asking ourselves. I mean, that is that is the quote of Ambassador of Qatar, and that is newspaper are talking, but still, okay, it's true that one way we're looking at, for example, the name of some name like Haqqani will come, and many ministries. If somebody is not familiar with that, we say that it's one family member, family member, or completely half of the government is that. So that's okay. They are saying themselves that is a provisional, that is a transition authorities, the transition. We are and the next phase will become everything be corrected. So we are taking on their words. That's.
So, and the latest news on the struggle of these factions was rather made sort of hostage.
Really, there was some really news, but they have denied by brother himself. Actually, even they were saying there was some good, really big questions. I mean, discussion among themselves. We don't have real information, I should say here. Yes, we are really expecting, and there is something going on for sure. They're also human beings, I should say. Those are normal to have a discussion, but when discussion become, with the arm, that's not good. If a discussion would take place, or the discussion, no problem, they can discuss. But one thing I should say, that really the best and still possible outcome would be for to Taliban or this IEA or transition authority, how we call them, to really demonstrate that they seek to create an Afghanistan where people do not live in fear, where those with talents are invited to participate in rebuilding of their country, and where boys, girls, young women, men can receive the sort of education that will allow socioeconomic development. They should understand that today we are without development. We are always, unfortunately, tell that what the former president put it, we are a beggar. As I said, that can you imagine that 40% of GDP is foreign aid? So that's we cannot function this way country. And at the same time, unfortunately, what happens that I was reading a newspaper from our neighboring Pakistan and down that the Ministry of Economy in Pakistan, they're putting in place some crash courses for some financial people in Afghanistan, because all talents they left country. So some banks cannot function. So can you imagine that kind of thing, that situation? So they should understand that country cannot function without this expert, the knowledge, how educated people. That's a very people, that means men and women. So that's we are very hoping that they should really understand that. Yes,
Mr. Ambassador. The mayor Zarif Ghaffari said in a conference in Lisbon that the situation of the ISIS Khorasan is something that is fabricated, that sort of is an illusion or was fabricated, that is maybe a way to justify more wars or another war. Do you agree of that? Do you think that ISIS Khorasan exists, or is something that people just imagine or fabricate?
I feel I was in touch with governments and all at that time, and also that exists, but what we call it in Afghanistan, Daesh, that existed, but quite really not as strong as before. And the transition authority, they are combating that. themselves. They are saying that we are combating. Actually, there was a few explosions in Jalalabad. Yes, so that happens. No, it's not that. It's not that they are there. Actually, some newspapers, especially in our northern neighbors, they are saying that they are quite anxious about that. They are saying Daesh, even in the north of Afghanistan, they're there. But okay, for time being, we don't know. But
So,
I don't think that's fabricated. There was yes, it was there.
In this situation, how will be the relations with the Northern Alliance, with the so-called National Resistance Front?
Okay,
NRF.
One thing I should say here, that Afghan people we have enough of war, conflict. We would like to really to end of this war. So
because on the side of the NRF, they would like to establish a broad government, establish talks.
Okay, they are. That is, I feel that is for negotiation, which is good. Why not? We should negotiation. And what I heard,
but what actually happened is that the Taliban and others tried to enter Panjshir and clean them up.
No, the Panjshir
clean them up, and that's it.
No. I think that in Panjshir, for time being, what this journalist or when they also referred to before, what they show is really calm. I said it's not normal because all the shops are closed, but
no. One thing is the stripe, and another are the mountains and regions.
Exactly.
There are two different.
A good question. Perfect. You know that. Yes, that is for time being. For time being, we don't see really much. But I, as Afghan, as a former diplomat, I'm really hoping for negotiation. Actually, negotiation has been started in Parwan between Taliban and but unfortunately it failed. But I hope they will go. What I heard, there's two sides are ready to continue this fight. And also in this area, I heard that Tajik government also they are willing to really, even if possible, host a sort of meeting with them. Okay, I mean there's effort that, but on some I should say that war is finished. we have enough. We have to take this opportunity.
Because some weeks ago there was the SCO meeting.
Yes.
And then the conclusions are that would like to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan. The SCO meeting, the Shanghai Cooperation.
Yes, exactly. Yes. That was a meeting. You're right. There was Mr. Rahman, president of Tajikistan, was very talkative, and he said that we have to really go towards negotiation, even if there is any differences, we have to settle down. I think that was okay, positive. Why not? But I feel that one thing I should say, that this situation actually we are okay. As I said, we missed one opportunity, great opportunity to reconciliation among all Afghans. That is a dream of all Afghans. That that we should really one day to finish this war, because one thing we have to say that a couple of months ago we had all day some really killings of soldiers, killing of civil, so on. That was people had enough of that, and then many of our development project was standstill because of this disturbances. So we would like that we take that as an opportunity. I know it's a lot of difficulties. We have difficulties, but lots of obstacles. But we have to go through it. There is that thing. And then as we see, the world is with us. with Afghanistan. Can you imagine that, as I was mentioning, Geneva Conference was such a solidarity, such a support for Afghan people. So that I know, and Mr. Khalilzad was a special representative of United States. A few days ago, 2-3 days ago, he was giving an interview. He said, yes, we don't want to leave Afghanistan alone like this. We would like to help. We would like to come to a conclusion that this reconciliation take place. And for sure. And I'm really urging our friends in Europe, all the NATO members, that to help us and I hope that this provisional transition authority understand that. I think there is people that understand that this is an opportunity to get together everybody, and that's it. Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, how do you read that your colleague in New York, in United Nations, didn't have any intervention?
You're right. Mr. Isaaczai is a former staff of United Nations. He's very well aware of this, or procedures and all that. So okay, we understand that he was in a difficult situation for sure. And okay, he didn't give reason for that, but at least they're saying that some consultation took. He said that it's better to not, antagonize everybody, just to withdraw his thing. I don't know. That is his decision. Maybe one day we're gonna explain more, but I don't know if he were taking.
So, and what impact could had done already to the situation?
No, now the situation is. I think that that committee on credential will meet in end of October. I think end of October. They will decide because there is a new representative has been introduced to the United Nations. We'll see what will happen. They will decide. They have some criteria in the United Nations. I don't want to go before that, but they will decide. But for time being, as our ambassador, Mr. Isaaczai, he is our representative in the United Nations for time being, yes.
But in the sense of not speaking at the General Assembly, what moment could have lost for not showing?
Okay. I was really, if I was in
could have lost or gained.
No. I was hoped that he could have, as few words I was saying that about humanitarian urgency. He could have, talked about that, because that is the main question. But now, if probably about political issues, that's for sure, to farmer government or that was a question I can't pronounce on that, because I very I don't know how he was thinking about that. But yes, but I think that generally I should say finally, as I said, you see that the UN conference in Geneva was quite successful. So we had, I think, motions going on, and OCHA, the United Nations Humanitarian Assistance, is going to work fantastically. And then, as I said, EU, thanks to all members of the EU, taking this earmark, 300 million euros, fantastic. And then particularly also G20 will focus on. So we have not lost anything, I should say, what we for time being, which is this really humanitarian and economic help to Afghanistan, to Afghan people. Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, on the situation between the current transition government, or whatever we can call them, and the resistance, do you think that in the future the resistance could be labeled as a terrorist group?
No.
By the transitional government? Because, you know, if they are saying, using the narrative, using the narrative that the Daesh are in the north already, so we could establish a narrative that maybe they are the terrorists now.
No, I don't want to venture on that, but I don't think so. I don't think that was what the news I have. I mean, I don't think is completely confirmed, but the negotiation will take place, I hope.
Because otherwise we'll jeopardize any
absolutely, you're right.
possibility of negotiation.
Exactly. I put it really a few minutes ago that now there's urgency, humanitarian help. Can you imagine that million of Afghans? I should say, the winter is coming. Winter is very harsh in Afghanistan. So we have to focus on that, not on war. You know, we should take this opportunity, and then I'm on the development, you know, staff, I should say. I'm very talking about development issues. I mean, our urgency now is really humanitarian and economic help, because that is a very dangerous. Can you imagine that really people has not received a salary? People have all the work has been stopped. So there is really as a tremendous problem.
Mr. Marquez, do you have any left questions on your side?
No, thank you, Victor.
Okay.
Thank you,
yes,
Mr. Ambassador.
Mr. Ambassador, so
I would like to say one thing about United Nations.
Yes. We would like to have your any kind of conclusions or any kind of pledge that you could do to the Portuguese authorities.
Absolutely. You see, first of all, I have to say here that you know that international community are willing to do what is called conditional engagement. It is important to provide needed goods and services to Afghanistan, and that's understandable that there are this conditional engagement. You know, that's it. And the role of United Nations family in Afghanistan is crucial. UN is committed to do what they have done for last 75 years, delivering for the people of Afghanistan. This is a role is very essential now. And I would like to really hear just one word, not that I was working with United Nations, but I cannot express enough my admiration for those UN staff, national and international, that were in Afghanistan and working in a difficult situation. They are not in Kabul also. They are going to the provinces and all that. And I think that I would like to, at the end, to really cite the international communities, a very strong resolution of Security Council on Afghanistan in August, saying that it's called, this resolution called for combating terrorism, upholding human rights, and encouraging on inclusive political settlement with full, equal, and meaningful participation by women. I think that's a good conclusion. I sure that is the highest body in the international organization, which were all of us, we are member of it. That's a good conclusion. So we hope that will be implemented. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. And one last question that we forgot. How do you analyze the intentions from the side of Iran and Pakistan?
Yeah.
Towards Afghanistan, of course.
Yeah, very good question. So Pakistan, I should say that I was reading today, it's for sure that Pakistan is involved because our neighbor, we had some difficulties with them, and in Pakistan, they are trying their best, I think, to really to offer, I should say, this situation in Afghanistan to the international community. But at the same time, I feel that I'm reading the newspaper. They're pronouncing strongly that they are for inclusive government in Afghanistan. So I should say I was reading the Pakistani newspaper. I was the Minister of Economics, who's really offered to help, as I said, some expert training, crash courses for those in financial field. They're saying that exactly they're using terms of transition authorities. So that's a good sign. Iran, we are not hearing much about Iran now, but I think that probably they are wait and see at the situation, what will happen, and I think that there's some good signs comes. The new constitutions will come, I hope, in force, and also, as I said, that in the border between Iran and Afghanistan, as I referred before, Herat custom become almost normal, the situation. That the export and import are taking place. That's a very crucial for Afghanistan and also for Iran. Why not? That's we have to say. So these are our neighbors. At the same time, we are other interested neighbors in the north of country. That they're anxious to see what will happen in Afghanistan. They are perfectly right to see what will happen, and particularly they are very much concerned, our neighbors, and particularly in northern Afghanistan, about possible, activities and the future of Al Qaeda. That is a normal thing, and I hope that will not take place. And Taliban or authority several times they announced that that no one can use the Afghan soil to attack our neighbors. Okay, they say so, but we should watch that to very carefully, and I hope, and also Russia, they are quite interested, and they have few meetings in Moscow. Actually, one of the two meetings in Moscow with Taliban, what they call it, Troika extended. They were saying very expressly in that outcome that the restoration of Islamic Republic in Afghanistan will not be acceptable. So that is that was in that decision. So we'll see what will happen, and of course we should be optimistic. There is some movement that are taking place. Optimistic that we'll have really a peaceful, I should say, Afghanistan finally, and in good terms with all neighbors, whether northern countries, especially with Pakistan and Iran. That's for it, and with India also. Actually, a couple of days ago, this transitional authorities, they make appeal to India to resume their flights of from Delhi to Kabul. So that means that they would like to really that somehow the commercial relationship will take place.
And Mr. Ambassador, finally, and on all dynamics that you have told us, do you think that is a possibility or a danger, or in case of there is no possibility of engagement between the conflicting parts, to have a northern Afghanistan and southern Afghanistan? Because it's something that before the authorities already thought and think and talk about, but could it be a threat on this?
No, I think they was talking. You're right. Newspaper, some people are talking. No, I don't agree, because one thing. That's just to give you an example. During when Taliban was in power in 1996 to 2001, it happens in that time once there was north and south somehow. But we felt that time north cannot live without south, and south cannot live without north. In Afghanistan, both sides, and that time was very very clear. So that would not happen. I think, and I hope not, and I think that is not unacceptable for all Afghans.
So it's likewise in the national anthem of Afghanistan, where the lyrics says that Afghanistan is the land of the Pashtuns, of the Hazaras, of the Tajik, of all a lot of different ethnicities.
Absolutely. You know one thing really. I think that is something that when I was talking with an Afghanistan, always because European countries, you have gone through that. You in European countries, you are considering this different differences, different languages, different culture as assets, as resources. We should do that. That's, I think, as you rightly said, there's Pashtun, Tajik, Hazara, and all that. They're assets. We should use that. That is our great resources. We have used it. So this is something that we should understand. But unfortunately, I should say, not that some Jews are saying, there is few people. They are really, some politicians, I should say, they're taking advantage of that for probably for personal reasons and all that. But with common people, absolutely there's no difference. If you go to Kabul, to market, to Mazar-e-Sharif, to market, there is no difference among people. They're talking about each other, one talking in Pashto, other responding, and I don't know, Uzbek responding to Pashto. Absolutely. So it's common people, but they're struggling every day, for their life, for their well-being. So that is something that we should really be careful, because unfortunately that was during the Republic, especially the last 3 years. This issue, as you rightly said, came up very much, and that was really very unfortunate. One of the things that I'm very critical about that period is that this question, one is corruption, a lot of corruption. One other is this question of ethnicity, let's say competition among them. That was, or languages, that was very, very, very damageful for ourselves. I with great assurance I say that many Afghans, if not the great majority, are against this kind of thing. Yes. Sorry.
On the beginning, before starting this conversation, you said that would address on the situation of the withdrawal that was in a way that jeopardized a lot of opportunities.
Yes, yes. Here I was just saying that that this withdrawal, I was listening like all of you, and some discussion going on in Senate in the United States. It is very interesting to see that. I found that here I have with me, for example, General Milley told the Senate Armed Service Committee, I quote, "It is clear and obvious that the war in Afghanistan did not end on the terms we wanted, with Taliban now in power in Kabul." And Secretary Austin added that we need to consider some uncomfortable truths that we didn't fully comprehend. So these are really some problems, because you see, there was a understanding that everything will come peaceful, that the President Ghani will transfer the power to a provisional government. this government will form between Taliban, for example, and some elements of opposition in Kabul, and some people from government. So that was a great opportunity. Why to lose all that? So and then that was a way to really to peacefully transfer to that one, and then that government will be in charge to see what we'll do to next. A new constitution probably, and some new elements to satisfy all Afghans. So unfortunately, we lost that opportunity. That was I was saying that the withdrawal was brute and unwise. That was just something.
Mr. Ambassador, so your life experience, you served under Karzai and Ghani. So
no, I served under Karzai, President Karzai, yes,
and not under Ghani year.
No.
So you finish your career before Ghani.
Exactly. When Ghani came in and forward, by the way, Mr. Karzai.
So the situation is, how do you define one and another?
Yes.
And then what was the situation that made you not to cooperate?
No, one thing, the problem here also is a question of personality, understanding, and then Mr. Karzai had a very broad vision for Afghanistan. A broad vision. You remember that in his time was a brother of Commandant Massoud. He was his deputy, and then one of the biggest the figure of the northern country, Mr. Fahim, Marshal Fahim, was his deputy. So it was very, very good consensus. We had a broad-based government, and his government everyone could see their picture in the government. So that was a good thing, I think. But unfortunately, and then of course there was also corruption, but not as such was in the offset government. But especially in this last 3 years, this question of as we ethnicity becomes so I should say highlighted so much that everybody was talking about, and then the power, I should say, and especially last 3 years, the parliament had almost nothing to say. All power is concentrated in the hand of the president. That was a great, really failure of a democracy. During Mr. Karzai, Parliament had something to say according to the Constitution. The Supreme Court were there. There was really a separation between three powers of the state. But unfortunately, there was always, during the last president, there was always fight between Parliament and the presidency. And presidency concentrated all power in their hand, which is really was very unfortunate. And then the many people was outside of government. That was, we call it, great opposition. So they were completely opposed to the way the president was running the government and running the projects and all that. That was the main one of the main problem. As I said, of Mr. Khalilzad, special representative of the U.S., put it just two nights before in his speech. He said that if the President Ghani have really, resigned, let's say, his name would have written in gold and history, that he have given up his post in order to have a reconciliation among Afghans. It's perfect. And then the Russian foreign minister, Mr. Lavrov, himself, he said that this kind of thing could have happened 1 year ago. We didn't have all this problem. So that means that the president is really, was I don't know why he wanted to absolutely grab his power towards the end, and what happened at the end. That's
Mr.
So-
Ambassador, as far as you know, the former mayor Zarifa Ghaffari,
Yes.
was she from the line of Ghani?
No. She was a mayor. She was a very intelligent woman, a young
But
woman.
what was
Young-
the line of power that she was closer to?
No. That is the line was very concentrated in the hand of few people. Unfortunately, that was what we're saying. Few people and the palace. Few people. No. There's very few people was really. I should say at the end. That the president was almost
Because afterwards she went for a mission to the Ministry of Defense.
Yes. Okay.
Some months.
I don't know. Maybe you could have asked her. It was a personal problem because she couldn't, security-wise, there or not. But there's another thing also that during the last years, there's a lot of turnover and staff, and the ministries, particularly ministry, security ministries. Also, Mr. Marcus, I'm sure he will agree with me. When it's too much turnover in such a situation, that's very bad, very bad. There was a lot of turnover, even in provinces and our army. That is really, the even officers were asking, what's happening? In the middle of some operation, suddenly the chief was changed. When another chief came, there's so much. The ministries was really the turnover of staff was something amazing. We never have seen such a thing.
Wow, you Ambassador, you have gave us an overview, 360-degree overview of the situation.
I hope that
Really, thank you very much.
It's my personal thing. Thank you very much. You're asking me.
And then I would like just to finalize to add up that you are preparing a document with some other diplomats of Afghanistan. Or you prepare an article before to the US?
No, we are, of course, we are in touch with many diplomats, with Afghans in Kabul, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because I was working with UN. I wanted very much to transmit my experience, what I had good experience. Then in UN, I was very much involved in some seminars. I was in Asia a lot of time for what you call discussion. Particularly, I was working on legal aspect of transfer of technology. So I was very much we are working with foreign direct investment issues and all that. So I wanted all of us to transmit this knowledge to my colleagues in Afghanistan, how to attract foreign direct investment in Afghanistan, how to cooperate in technological field with other countries, with other firms, with other things. And I said that my belief is that as we are living in a society, in a world, which is small world that come as a knowledge-based world, knowledge-based society. We have to learn, we have to communicate, we have to cooperate with others. And also I should say, I was in that time involved in many studies of this globalization. Globalization has some negative aspects probably, but had a tremendous positive aspect for developing countries.
Mr. Ambassador, will you come to Portugal to visit one day?
One day, yes, I with great pleasure. I should say that here to end that I was so pleased, first surprised from your call, and I was so pleased that really I want to visit you eye to eye. I said I was so pleased, and I like very much really to come to Lisbon to visit you, to see other friends and Mr. Marcus to over a lunch to discuss some of our common issues.
Mr. Ambassador, because you are still at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Portugal.
Thank you very much.
You are ranking the number 8 elder
Thank you very much.
ambassador.
It's a great honor to me, and really, I love that. And I hope one day I will come. We can go to a Afghan restaurant in Lisbon.
Very well. Thank you very much, Mr.
You're welcome.
Ambassador.
Welcome.
Thank you for your time and your deep explanation. We are very glad to have this overview on this crisis situation. And Mr. Marques?
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Ambassador, for this conversation. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
I try to really put my emotion also in sometimes.
Yes.
And we hope and expect to have you another time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's a great honor. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.